Hello, in this video we look at G&K Lesson 1, reading number 3 on page 1 of the printed book, one being Michadikasa. As before, I will read it without the text up, read the first paragraph without the text up, and then we'll analyze that first paragraph in detail. Michadikasa bhikkhave anupanna cheva akusala dhamma uppajjanti uppanna cha akusala dhamma vepullaya samvattanti. And I'll give you the printed text of it. There we are. Michadikasa bhikkhave anupanna cheva akusala dhamma uppajjanti uppanna cha akusala dhamma vepullaya samvattanti. The word michha is used only as a prefix. It's an indeclinable word. It means false or wrong, or falsely or wrongly. You only ever find it prefixed to another word. It doesn't stand as an independent word. I don't think it does. And so we have michhaditti. This is the most common word in which it appears. Michhaditti is therefore false view or wrong view. Michha appears to be cognate with our English prefix mis, meaning falsely or wrongly, as in misunderstanding, misappropriation, misconduct. So it's a misview, a wrong view. So that's michhaditti. Ditti, from the root drish, meaning to see. So it's drishti in Sanskrit. I'll give it to you in both Sanskrit and Pali. Let me call up the iPad. Oops, here we are. So, the root drish means to see. Now, I explained earlier that you form the past participle by adding ta to the root. You can equally form many verbal nouns, that's the name of the action, like to see, and then a view, a seeing, by instead of ta adding ti to the root. Not all of them, doesn't always work, but it very frequently does. And this is such a word. So you get the past participle, looking at the Sanskrit now. Past participle is drish plus ta. By internal sandhi, that's by mutation of sounds when they come together, wherever you get a sh plus a following t in a Sanskrit word, it mutates to a shta, both subdotted retroflex. That's where you get drishta becomes drishta. And similarly, drish plus ti becomes in Sanskrit drishti. And it's the Sanskrit drishti that by regular phonetic mutation becomes ditti in Pali. And similarly, drishta becomes ditta in Pali. Dittosi Mara, you have been seen, Mara. So ditta, seen, ditti, a seeing, and therefore a view or an opinion. And that's how we get michhaditti, false view, wrong view in Pali. Now, to make a word meaning a person having false view, one with a false view, we add the ka ending. That's just the ka ending very often means somebody who does or has something. So michhaditti, wrong view, michhadittika, a person of wrong view, a person having false view. And here we've got it in the genitive / dative form, the michhadittikassa. means two or four of one of wrong view. Bhikkhave, O monks. Anupanna akusala dhamma upajjanti, means unarisen, unskillful states arise. Now this upanna, to arise, we know paticca samuppada, that's the samuppada. The root is pad. The basic meaning of pad, the original meaning, is just to go. It's actually cognate with our English word foot, because the foot is that by which you go, you move, you walk. It makes this root, this verb, makes its past participle by the addition not of ta but na. Quite a number do. You see the same phenomenon in English. The most common way of forming the past participle is with an ed, but we do it with several verbs with an en instead. Spoken. You don't say speaks but spoken, and not righted but written, and not drived but driven. So this alternative ending with a na, we see reflected in English as well. So padna, by internal sandhi, the d and the na coalesce into a double na, and that's how we get panna. Same in Sanskrit and Pali. Panna. This root is most commonly seen with prefixes, and the very common one is to put the prefix ut in front of it. So ut panna. Now, utpanna, the t and the p will remain unchanged in Sanskrit, so it's utpanna. Ut is cognate with our English word out, and it means out or up. So coming up means arising, coming into existence. Now this t p will merge in Sanskrit, in Pali, into uppanna. And that's how we get uppanna. So utpadna in Sanskrit, utpanna, and Pali uppanna means upgone, therefore arisen. You see the verb here upajjanti, which I shall explain. So we've been looking at the conjugation of verbs. So from this root pad, you might have expected, if it were a class 1 verb, to see, and I'm putting an asterisk here to show us a form that does not exist. It's not that. If this is a class 4 verb, that they're called, what happens with a class 4 verb? That they decline, they conjugate, I should say, exactly like the class 1 verbs, which is the most common type of verb, but with the insertion of a y before the thematic a of the root. So you make the present stem as not pada but padya. Padya. This is in Sanskrit. Padya. As from that point now, it conjugates the same as the other verbs that we've seen, and I'm thinking particularly of the verb table in the second half of page 7 of the pre-printed book. So padya is now the stem for the present tense. Now, what happens is that whenever you get or almost whenever you get a dya in Sanskrit, that becomes a double j in Pali. So that becomes padja. Now, with the ut in front of it, would be the stem, the present stem would be utpadya in Sanskrit, but for the reasons I've just given, it becomes upadja in Pali. And that's how we get the present stem upadja, and that accounts for the form that we see here, upajjanti. We'll get it right, the one that I'm highlighting here, upajjanti. In Sanskrit would be utpadyante. It's an atmanepada verb. I'll explain that. It's what's called a middle voice verb, so not utpadyanti, but utpadyante. In Pali, uppadyanti, they arise. Most of you will be familiar with the term in Pali, paticca samuppada. The noun from utpad is in Sanskrit utpada, and with the further prefix sam, it's samutpada. In Pali, samupada, meaning origination or arising. Utpada, what's the difference between utpada and samupada? Utpada can be used to mean just the act of arising, whereas with the prefix samupada, tends to indicate the completed result of that act, therefore actually being born, coming into existence. The distinction isn't hard and fast, but there's that undertone there. Upada, the act of arising; samupada, the completion of that act, and the thing that comes into being as a result of the arising. So let me just call it down. Here we are. So akusala dhamma, kusala we know skillful, akusala dhamma, unskillful states. So for a person of wrong view, micchadittikassa, akusala dhamma uppajanti, unskillful states arise. Now what it says, anuppanna, uppanna is something that has arisen. So anuppanna, with the negated by the a, which becomes an before a vowel, just the same as it does in Greek and we do in English. Anaerobic, anorexic, the same an. So anuppanna cheva akusala dhamma, both unskillful states arise. Uppannacha akusala dhamma, and arisen, that is already arisen, unskillful states, samvattanti, proceed to, conduce to, vipulaya. So vipula means large or expansive. It means something like filled out. Pula, English full. It's cognate also with the Latin plenus. Pula, vipula, filled out, expanded. That's the adjective, and it makes an abstract noun, vepulla, meaning plenitude or expansiveness. So, and this is the dative, vepullaya samvattanti, they proceed, they go, they conduce to fullness. In other words, they fill out, they expand. They can get worse if you're talking about a bad state. So this means here that for a person of wrong view, O monks, unarisen, unskillful states arise, and arisen, meaning already arisen, akusala dhamma, unskillful states, samvattanti, proceed, conduce, go on, vepullaya, to increase, to filling out, getting bigger. Now I'll do the same with the next paragraph, which is very largely a repetition of the first. In fact, in the opening lines, you'll recognize these from the previous reading, the opening words, I should say. Naham bhikkhave. So let me try my copy here. Naham bhikkhave anyam ekadhammampi samanupassami yena anupannava akusala dhamma uppajanti uppannava akusala dhamma biyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti yathayedam bhikkhave micchaditti micchadittikassa bhikkhave anuppannacheva akusala dhamma uppajanti uppannacha akusala dhamma biyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti. Now, almost all of the material in this sentence we have already done in the earlier readings in this lesson. So, naham bhikkhave anyameka dhammampi samanupassami. I do not, O monks, perceive or detect or discern any single dhamma, which general meaning of phenomenon, anyam, one other, even one other single phenomenon, yena, whereby, it's the instrumental of the relative pronoun yo, so yena, by which, whereby, anupannava akusala dhamma upajjanti. We just had uppannava akusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti yathayedam bhikkhave micchaditti. So yena, by which anupannava akusala dhamma upajjanti. This va and va, anupannava, the first va there that I'm highlighting, oops, and the second va there means either or. It can mean both and, either or both and, depending on context. Oops, here we are. So, I do not, O monks, see any other single dhamma phenomenon, yena, by which va, either anupanna akusala dhamma upajjanti, either unskillful states arise, uppanna va, the va, or uppanna, already, put in already, arisen akusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti, already arisen akusala dhamma, unskillful states, samvattanti, go to, proceed to, bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya. Now the vepullaya we've just had, bhiyo bhavaya is a compound word which I've explained. Yes, I have. Bhiyo, I've done a fuller note on it in the explanatory glossary. Bhiyo is a word meaning more. Bhava means being, so put them together. Bhiyo bhava, literally more being, means therefore expanding, increasing. And it's used here as virtually synonymous, I think, with vepulla. You very often find that in the Pali scriptures, that two synonymous or almost synonymous words will be juxtaposed without really altering the meaning. So bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti. The next paragraph contains very little, actually, that is new now. I'll read it out. Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadhammampi samanupassami yena anupannava kusala dhamma uppajjanti uppannava kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti yathayedam bhikkhave sammaditthi. Sammaditthi, of course, is the opposite of micchaditti. Sammaditthi, right view, which is, of course, is one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Sammaditthi kassa bhikkhave anupanna cheva kusala dhamma uppajjanti uppanna cha kusala dhamma bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti. So this reflects almost word for word the previous paragraphs, but saying what happens to the person of right view. We've had micchaditti and the micchadittika, a person of wrong view. We have sammaditthi, right view, and a sammadittika, meaning a person of right view. So, naham bhikkhave, I do not, O monks, samanupassami, perceive, detect, anyam ekadhammampi, any other, one other, a single other phenomenon, yena, whereby anupannava kusala dhamma uppajjanti, so not arisen or not yet arisen, kusala dhamma uppajjanti, skillful states arise, uppannava kusala dhamma, or arisen, meaning already arisen, skillful states, bhiyo bhavaya vepullaya samvattanti, go to fullness and increase. Yathayadam bhikkave sammaditthi, as this, O monks, right view. I'll expand further on this in the Zoom lessons, but the word samma, commonly translated as right, samma jiva, samaditthi, samma kamanta. There's a lot more to it than that. The word is much fuller than that. I've dealt with, as indicated by the way I've written it here, in the explanatory glossary. And as I said, I will deal with it in detail in the Zoom classes. So, sammadittikassa bhikkave anupanna cheva kusala dhamma uppajjanti uppanna cha kusala dhamma biyo bhavaya vepulaya samvattanti. I think I'm going to make a little correct. I'm going to put in an apostrophe to indicate it's cha eva. Of course, when it's written in one of the native scripts, that's Devanagari, Sinhala, Thai, Burmese, or Khmer, any of the others in which Pali is written, you wouldn't find that apostrophe. But our Latin script allows us the luxury of helping the students by putting in the apostrophe. So it's cha eva and verily. So Jeva. Incidentally, it would never be reflected in the pronunciation. You just say Jeva. So, samadittikassa bhikkave, for one of right view, O monks, anupanna cheva kusala dhamma uppajjanti, both unarisen, nor not yet arisen, skillful states, uppajjanti, uppannacha kusala dhamma biyo bhavaya vepulaya samvattanti, and arisen or already arisen skillful states increase and expand. And finally, now this last paragraph, there's now nothing new in it, almost or very little is new in it for you. Naham bhikkave anyameka dhammampi samanupassami yena anupannava akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppannava akusala dhamma parihayanti yathayadam bhikkave sammaditthi sammaditthikassa bhikkave anupanna cheva akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppanna cha akusala dhamma parihayanti. I'm going to put an apostrophe here as well. You'll see where the cursor is, because that's na uppajjanti. What happened here is a na uppajjanti. The a of the na has disappeared, but the u of uppajjanti has doubled. That's slightly unusual in Pali. We've now got a long vowel before a doubled consonant. You do find it. If I'd seen nuppajjanti or na uppajjanti, that would have been perfectly normal. There's more than one way of doing it in Pali. Now, parihayanti, so I've put it in the wrong place. There we are. Put it in both places. Parihayanti is to decay, dwindle, waste away. In fact, it's from the root ha. Let me give you iPad again. The root ha, which means either to abandon something, or it can be intransitive as well, to disappear, waste away, get lost. It makes its past participle. You would have expected its past. Oops, what have I done? Oh, sorry. Oh, what have I done here? Oops. There we are, got it back. It makes its past participle You'd expect it, to see ha plus ta, but that form does not exist. It is in fact slightly irregular. It is hina. And you will recognize this. This hasn't come out properly. Hina. And the original meaning of that word was kind of abandoned or left behind, and it has come to mean defective or inferior or lesser. And we see that word in the expression which is generally, well, in some contexts, regarded as slightly pejorative, in the word Hinayana as opposed to Mahayana. The Hinayana is from that same root ha. Now with the prefix peri, which is actually cognate with the Greek peri, meaning around, it makes its present tense perihayati, which means just to waste away, dwindle, vanish, get lost. So back to our text. Naham bhikkhave anyameka dhammampi samanupasami. We've just had that. Yena anupannava kusala dhamma nupajjanti uppannava kusala dhamma parihayanti. Yeah, it's the opposite of this going to increase and getting more. The biyo bhavaya vepulaya samvattanti. Here parihayanti. It's the opposite of that. They dwindle away, waste away, and then vanish. So no other single phenomenon or state do I discern whereby unarisen good states do not arise, and already arisen good states get lost, vanish, decrease, as this, O monks, mitchaditti, as false view. So mitchadittikassa bhikkhave, for one of false view, O monks, anupanna cheva, put in a apostrophe for you here, anupanna cheva kusala dhamma nupajjanti uppanna cha kusala dhamma parihayanti. And again, this you shouldn't need any further explanation here. All of these words and phrases we have had. And finally, in this reading 3, the last paragraph, Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadhammampi samanupassami yena anupannava akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppannava akusala dhamma parihayanti yathayedam bhikkhave sammaditthi sammaditthikassa bhikkhave anupanna cheva akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppannava akusala dhamma parihayanti. Now there should be nothing new for you in this. It's all of the same words and expressions, but here it's saying that for the person of sammaditthi, then these akusala dhamma parihayanti. Sammaditthikassa akusala dhamma parihayanti. Unskillful states diminish, vanish, fade away. Now what I'll do, I'll just read this last paragraph through once more without the text up. I shall help you by concealing it. And just try to follow. I'll read this last paragraph through very slowly. Just try to follow it as I say it and see if you can understand it. Naham bhikkhave anyang ekadhammampi samanupassami yena anupannava akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppannava kusala dhamma parihayanti yathayedam bhikkhave sammaditthi. Sammaditthikassa bhikkhave anupanna cheva akusala dhamma nupajjanti uppanna cha akusala dhamma parihayanti. And that's it for reading number 3.